Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to Saturday's bonus upload. It gets us that much closer to tonight's live stream, Saturday Nightmares, live from New York at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see you all there. Before we get into this bonus, though, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus. Shall we? Today's first encounter. Hello everyone. So this is my experience. When my son was about 3, my son and my son's father moved upstate to Liberty, New York. We moved into a complex with 2-story apartments throughout, surrounded by a deep wooded area. After about 2 weeks of living there, we didn't have any curtains or blinds on our windows that faced towards the back of the apartment. Kitchen and my son's room windows were bare. One night I was cooking in my kitchen, and my son was also in the kitchen playing on the floor. For some reason, I had a strong sense, like something was staring at me. I could feel it. I can't really explain it. It was just a really strong feeling. I looked directly out my kitchen window, which is towards the right side of my stove. I was standing directly in front of the window cooking, so if you were looking outside or looking in from outside, you would see me at full view. Anyway, I looked towards the window, and of course I couldn't see anything but my reflection. It was so dark outside. I got so scared of that feeling that I felt. I turned off the stove, grabbed my son, and as I was heading to my room, a loud and deep growl came from outside. It was so deep I felt the vibration in my body. I ran to my room, sat on my bed, and was wondering what the hell that was. Was there a lion in the back of my apartment? It freaked me out so bad. As I looked over to my son's room, I realized that whatever was out back can look through his window and into my room. I didn't want to shut my room door because I wanted to hear every single sound down to the pin drop. I was so petrified. I went to my son's room, moved the bed right under his window, and slept right in that room. So whatever was looking through my window, it would appear no one was home. I called up my son's father and complained about not wanting to live there anymore and to take me back to New York City. He picked me up the following week. But for years, I always told this story over and over. Even my son, who is now 21 years old, knows it. Now that I know what these creatures are and how people feel this strong presence of something staring and the noise these things make, I'm convinced they exist. Can anyone tell me otherwise? Today's second encounter. Hello everyone. The story I'm about to share with you is absolutely true. My name is Matt. I'm a 21-year-old man from Germany, and I am or better was doing a working holiday in Canada. This has always been a dream for me to explore and experience this large and beautiful country. It truly was a pleasure for me. I arrived here in August and had the best time of my life until this Wednesday. But now it's turning into an absolute nightmare. I've always loved driving late at night, especially on relatively remote roads. That's why I chose to take the ON 502 northbound to Fort Francis to Dryden that evening. It was around 11:40 p.m. In a long bended part of the road, suddenly a semi with its hazard lights flashing stood on the right side near a ditch. I stopped in front of the truck, got out, and asked the driver if he needed any help. I immediately noticed that the left part of his front of the truck was really badly damaged. The headlight and grille were broken, the hood was pushed backwards and smashed a bit of the windscreen, and everything was full of blood. Only then I realized there was more blood on the road as well, from what I could see in the dark with the small amount of light that came from my taillights. His intact right headlight and his marker lights. Oh God, he hit a bear was my first thought from the amount of damage I could see. I walked up to the driver's side door and knocked a few times. He did not answer. First I thought perhaps he was going to get some help, but then I reflected that we are in the middle of nowhere. Dryden's like 50 kilometers away, and that he would more likely have used his cell or CB to call help. I knocked again. Again, no response. Then I opened the door. He was huddled back in the cabin. He was shaking. His skin was pale like a dead person's. And he looked with so much fear and shock in his eyes, like he had just seen the devil in person. "Can I help you? You had a really bad accident here. Are you injured?" I asked. No response as well. "Hello, are you all right, sir?" "I'm not sure," he mumbled. "Does something hurt?" "No, but I hit it. I see that. I don't think that a bear is still alive, to be honest. It wasn't a bear." He responded with so much fear in his voice, I got confused. Are there elk in this part of Ontario? I'm not a native, so that was the first of what I thought. "It's okay, you're in shock. Take a breath." I responded, "Did you call 911? He didn't even answer my question. I left him alone in his rig and went to my van to get my phone. I was glad that I even had service in this part of the province. I told the operator what had happened. She assured me that she'd send an officer and an ambulance to the scene. She asked me which operator the truck was driving. Couldn't give her an answer, but she said that there will be roadside assistance coming as well. I hang up and went to the semi-driver to tell him that I called for help. The only thing he did was nod. I got my flashlight out of my car and searched for the dead animal. I was still convinced that he had hit a bear. Because I was very curious what he had really hit, I told him that indeed it was a bear. The blood was spread all over the road, and I could see where the bear was flinged to. Then I saw its body. Holy shit, it was indeed a really huge bear, I thought to myself. The creature was about 9 feet tall. It had really long limbs, and its face, even the head, was partially decapitated. Wasn't like anything I had ever seen. It was like I would look into a gorilla-type human face. It was so unreal. The teeth looked like you would see on a great white shark. Its eyes were partially closed, but it was like you could see the pupils glow underneath. They weren't really glowing, but it's the best I can do to describe it. It was so ape-human hybrid-like. Do you people now know when you feel that really uncomfortable from the moment to another? That was what I felt then. I didn't believe in Sasquatch before, but I watched a documentary about it a few years ago. I think it was Monster Quest. I couldn't believe what I was looking at, but I knew exactly what I was looking at. I never thought that I would experience something like this in my entire life. This can't be real. Where's the camera? "Fuck you all," I said so loud, hoping a TV crew would come out of the woods and admit their hoax. But there was no TV crew. I was alone with the truck driver and this thing. I went back to my car after I vomited in the road and sat in the driver's seat. I think it must have been 30 or 40 minutes. Everything was in like a trance, and then in the distance I saw head and emergency lights flickering. It was a police officer or an OPP patrolman. I can't really recall anymore. He asked what happened, and I told him the story I just shared with you. He was at first very suspicious about my story, but I knew that he knew I was telling the truth. He went back to his patrol car and radioed something. Then he went to the trucker. In the distance, I saw another pair of headlights, and the whole crew from the fire department to another police officer showed up. The police officer was directing the men from the fire department to the rig, like he wanted them to only take care of the broken semi and its driver. He then talked to the other police officer. I could see that he went pale right in the second as the first officer ended his sentence. I was absolutely sure about the fact that both knew that these creatures exist and that they have a schedule of what to do and what not to do in cases like this, because no one of them went to the place where I told them, first officer, where the body of this creature was. The second officer came up to me and told me that I had to follow him to the police department for a full report. So I drove behind him to Dryden. At the time we drove to the city, maybe after 40 kilometers, a convoy of dark vehicles passed us at high speed to the scene we were coming from. The junction of Ontario 502 and Ontario 594 was blocked, and no car was allowed to drive the Ontario 502 southbound. Arriving at the police station, the officer took me to an interrogation room, offered me something to drink. I had to wait till someone arrived to interview me, and I had to give away my phone and personal belongings. At first I refused because I didn't understand why, but his voice got very specific, and I handed him out my things. After what felt like an eternity, a man in a suit came into the room. He looked odd, a bit like an ill person because of his grayish skin, bald head, and his sunken-in cheeks. He had a not-to-suppress accent and talked really gentle and calm, without any expression at all. I had to recall all the details of what I had experienced, gave him all my personal information, my purpose of my journey in Canada. He took my fingerprints, and even a sample of my saliva. I felt like a criminal, so ashamed and uncomfortable, like I did something horrible. Then I had to sign a document, like a non-disclosure agreement, but there weren't any coats of arms, banners, or stamps on it. After that, he looked dead in my eyes and asked if I had seen what I had seen. I said yes. His tone got really straight. He asked me again, and I knew that I had to decline that answer. After that, he explained to me that they will follow my steps from now on, and that they will know everything I do. It's crazy that they don't make a secret about that. Then he went out of the room and was gone. A female officer came to me and gave me back my personal things and explained to me that they had checked my immigration info in the system and told them that I had to leave Canada by January 5th of 2019, and that there was a note, or better a command, that I only could take a direct flight to Germany. My current ETA got declined, and I can't apply for any future ETA, and even ESTA as well. I cannot believe it. Only because I have seen this thing, I cannot travel to North America for the rest of my life. I am on a blacklist for now, like a terrorist. When I turned on my phone, it sent me to first instruction screen, like out of the box, the same with my laptop. So these people erased everything of my electronic device to be sure that there were no information getting to the public. All of my pictures were gone. They even put all my things in the van upside down, like they were searching for evidence. I'm really sure that I'm probably being taped right now, and I'm lucky that I could even get my story out. I'm currently here at this disgusting A&W here in Marathon, and will drive back to Toronto. I really don't know what to do from now on. I have to sell this van, try to quit my insurance here, and get a flight back home in only 6 days, and even New Year's Eve is between them. Wish me luck. This truth must be spoken. I won't get intimidated by anyone, but I won't risk my life. So, really quick, that was word for word how it was written. I did not go all over the place on that. It was actually well written for a person from Germany, English being their second language. When he described the creature, something popped out at me. And I'm not going to say Dogman. I'm going to say werewolf. And why? Well, because we all know that a werewolf very resembles a Sasquatch. Minus the flat teeth that a Sasquatch has. This creature that he described very vividly had teeth like a shark. Razor sharp pointed teeth. No snout, which werewolves have a smaller snout. A lot of people use the term Gov'T because of Reddit and creepypastas, and the European culture in America has taken it over, and decided that Native American lore is their own and they can fuck with it how they want, like having skinwalkers in Georgia and this and that, Wendigos in North Carolina. But a Gov'T is a Micmac name, and I really, that is what a werewolf is in my eyes, because it fits the description. This poor guy, I mean, God, he's here on a work visa and witnesses something that is unbelievable. And then he's forced to go home and blacklisted. Good for him to get this story out, though. Good for him. I do hope he is okay, which he's probably safer there than here. So, wow. Really interesting. Moving on. Today's third encounter is very creepy. There's a town just southwest of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's pretty well known for being haunted. The locals in the area don't like people snooping around because of some unfortunate vandalism. Because of this, you can't simply Google where to find the sites. I spent about a week searching there for the church, schoolhouse, cemetery, and old dock where these ghost encounters typically happened. A group of friends came with me to check out this place. We drove over a bridge and down the twisting country road. The pavement turned to gravel and the road narrowed. On the left, we could see an old dock, but we wanted to get to the cemetery first, so we kept driving. We came to the bottom of the hill, and there was a steep drop-off on each side. As we got to the top of the hill, we could see the little cemetery. I pulled in the discreet driveway, and my 6 friends and I got out to explore. While we were in the cemetery, we heard what sounded almost like laughing and knocking coming from the woods. We didn't think too much of it, so we walked down to the old dock, where we heard some rocks being thrown into the river. We started to think that maybe the ghost stories were true. This is when 2 of my friends said they saw something huge moving in the woods. At this point in time, we were all pretty freaked out, so we ran back to my SUV and started driving down the hill. This is when a log was thrown over my car. I slowed down and kept making my way down the hill while watching into the woods on either side of the drop-offs to make sure I did not miss any of the action. Another log was thrown and landed right in front of my car. It was big enough, and I couldn't drive over it or around it, and I'm not a good enough backer-upper to back all the way up the hill in the dark on a narrow road. So I got out of the car to move the log, but it was too heavy for me to move. Then I heard a loud, angry, howling scream, followed by a loud series of snapping sounds. It sounded like it was close. I yelled for a couple of my friends to help me. It took 3 of us to move it. We got out of the road and we booked it back out of there. Something makes me think that not all of the activity that happens there is ghosts or hellhounds like the legends have you think. This was not my first run-in with something strange or creatured, but it was by far the most unpleasant. Why, I told you that was creepy. Backer-upper and creatured was kind of interesting though. Wow, I just actually got a bloody nose during that encounter. That's crazy. Today's 4th part of the upload. This is my own personal account written by myself about something strange that I remembered, something that happened when I was a kid. I've never forgotten that day and what happened, and this is why I decided to write it down. I wanted to know if anyone else had ever seen or experienced anything close to my encounter. I still live in northwest England, and as kids back then, we always went to the Throw of Bowland. I remember when my dad would take us as kids to one of the huge forests there and let us run riot. It was a large forest, and even though the sun was blazing hot, it failed to penetrate the darkness of the trees. It was much cooler and darker within the trees. I wandered off on my own, and I hadn't realized just how far I had gone. Stopping to get my bearings, I noticed something crouched behind the tree. It was hard to make out at first, and I saw its arms were wrapped around the trunk of the tree, and its head was tilted, watching me. It watched my every move. I moved closer and saw it was covered in long fur. I still remember that fear I felt swelling inside of me. Eventually, I ran as fast as I could towards the light. Thump! I ran face first into a tree as I turned to look back at the thing, and to see if it was following me. As I turned back, I hit the tree full on, and really hit my face. Dazed, I carried on until I found my dad again. My face was cut and blood pouring down my cheek. It took weeks for it to heal. There was not another soul there, so what did I see? I remember the creature, or whatever it was, had pointed ears, brown and black fur, and the face had a snout. Back then, my dad used to let me watch Strange But True, so I knew all the weird and wonderful things out there, and I immediately thought werewolf. Its arms were really big, and it had matted fur. It just watched me as I walked around. It never moved. Even when I got pretty close to it, I think it was the fear of the whole event that made me run off. Looking back, hence why I legged it headfirst into the bloody tree. Today's 5th and final encounter. I'm from the States. We've been living over here in England since 2000. Myself and my family live just outside of Blackburn in the Ribble Valley. I've always been fascinated with hominid creatures. I've had visuals of them, but only ever in the United States. The area this happened was private land with lots of public paths meandering through a dense forest. The path that we took started at the car park, I believe at the north end. There was only one car parked that I could find in the whole area. It was cut out of dense forest. There was another car parked way down south of the same road, but it overlooks the whole valley below. I wasn't on my own that day, as I had my 2 younger children with me. They were aged 5 and 7. I had my friend with us as well. We were all walking on the path and decided to walk into the most dense part of the woods off the path. It was purely happenstance and not something we had planned to do. No sooner did we walk in, we stopped and had to look around. There was a funny-looking tree with moss hanging off of it, and it stood out as clearly out of sync with the rest of the forest and trees. Only I quickly rationalized it away as being what it was. It was a Sasquatch. After doing considerable research on the subject and understanding their habits, I knew it was standing still and trying to mask itself from us. It was standing sideways, about 20 feet away from us. It was 7 to 8 feet tall, with matted, dirty, tan-colored hair all over its body. I was enthralled with it, to be honest. I couldn't take my eyes off this creature. My 5-year-old saw it as well, but she thought it was just a tree. She later told me that she had seen a funny-looking tree, but didn't realize what she was looking at. However, she did see a baby leaning over, pretending to be a tree stump. She told me it had a little black furry legs, and its butt was showing towards her. My friend saw the same thing. This little one would coincide with the crying we had heard earlier from the same area as we were walking the path. I guess we behaved inappropriately by walking off the path and catching this mom off guard. Also, we had heard chattering further up the path across the clearing. I did a whoop vocalization, and I got a reply, then dead silence. We decided to head back to the car as darkness was approaching. We nearly got back to the car when I heard a loud bang on the tree next to me. It was as if a stone had hit the tree. Then my friend went and picked something up that hit her. It was hit on the back shoulder with a stone. She later told me that she had seen a big, black, furry Bigfoot running away. The next time they visited the same clearing on November 23rd, 2002, they heard something growling at them and left apples for the creature on the path. My kids and I went back to the same area to see if the creature had moved. Upon entering that 6 to 7 foot opening, something we could not see growled at us. It was a deep, guttural, low-toned growl. A warning, perhaps. I told the kids, "Let's go. We found what we were looking for." It sounded as if it was less than 5 feet away. This time we threw apples on the ground in different paths that I thought it may have used. I've been back many times. I have my own name for them now, and I've been leaving food when it growls at me. Sort of like a peace offering. Last week there was one time when I had an apple in hand. I whooped to let it know I was there. It laughed at me and went, "Hee!" or something to that effect. I guess it had recognized that I had left apples on previous occasions. I heard heavy breathing at times, heavy footsteps. That would make the hair on the back of your neck stand on end. Then absolutely nothing. It would seem they can project as heavy a footstep as they want, given the situation. At other times, they are just stealthy. All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed this bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that keeps this channel growing and going. And honestly, what gives people a place to share their experiences, ideas, and theories, judgment and ridicule-free, just treated with the respect that we all deserve. Everyone stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They're out there and they're dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for answers, and God bless.